This is St. George, Utah. St. George is arguably best known as Utah's playground, a desert oasis with unparalleled access to outdoor recreation. From world-class hiking and mountain biking to off-roading and rock climbing, St. George offers 300 plus days of sunshine and serves as the central gateway to Utah's mighty 5 national parks. Visitors flood the area year-round, drawn by everything from Zion National Park, just 40 miles away, to championship golf courses, the Ironman race, and dozens, if not hundreds, of sporting tournaments every year. But St. George's success as an outdoor recreation capital has created an engineering challenge that a lot of people never considered. It turns out that having incredible outdoor recreation access and investing in top-tier amenities makes your city a pretty nice place to live, so people move there. That's what's happening in St. George. In March 2022, St. George was the fastest growing metro in the nation. When your population more than doubles in 25 years and you're hosting 1.4 million annual visitors to nearby attractions, you're setting city officials up for a bevy of engineering challenges. How do you build enough amenities to accommodate this influx of people? And maybe more importantly, how do you maintain what you already have to reduce replacement costs in the future? There's been a lot of exciting new developments in the area over the past few years. St. George has added a $45 million new city hall, a gleaming new county administration building, tons of residential development, and Black Desert Resort just up the road in neighboring Ivins. But arguably the most critical engineering happening in the city is taking place right beneath everybody's wheels. The numbers tell the story. St. George's population exploded from around 50,000 residents in 2000 to over 110,000 today. That's an average annual growth rate of 4.7%, which is massive. But raw population growth is only part of the story of the infrastructure challenge. St. George isn't just a growing city, it's a destination. The road network that serves over 100,000 residents also handles 1.4 million annual visitors. People are coming to visit the national parks, watch and participate in the Ironman, the Huntsman World Senior Games, and now PGA Tour events. During peak seasons, St. George's roads carry traffic loads designed for a city 3 times its size. Road maintenance is a major engineering and public works challenge for St. George. The city maintains over 1,500 lane miles of roadway, 11,000 signs, 180 miles of storm drain pipe, 1,300 acres of floodplains, and 46 traffic signals, all with 33 public works employees and a $4.5 million annual budget. That's a lot of expensive infrastructure that is critical to the function of the city. One of the major issues St. George faces is the cost of construction. Completely reconstructing just 1 mile of urban road could easily cost over $1 million. Multiply that across St. George's entire network and the costs quickly get out of hand. The scale, complexity, and community impact of reconstruction make these projects prohibitive and undesirable, especially in residential neighborhoods. Pavement deterioration is inevitable, so the question becomes, how do you manage that inevitable decline most cost effectively? One thing is for sure though, using a traditional worst first maintenance approach would consume all the city's total annual budget multiple times over, easily costing over $1 billion to replace all the existing streets, and that's before accounting for the new roads and infrastructure needed to serve continued growth. So St. George faces a perfect storm: explosive residential growth, massive seasonal tourism loads, extreme weather conditions that accelerate pavement deterioration, and municipal budgets that simply can't scale fast enough to keep up with infrastructure demands. Unfortunately, many cities in this situation just accept deteriorating road conditions. St. George, though, took a different approach. Instead of waiting for roads to fail and repaving, St. George has developed a program that allows them to maximize the life of their roads cost effectively. They diagnose problems early, apply targeted treatments, and prevent small issues from becoming expensive failures. It's similar to getting an oil change in your car to avoid having your engine seize. If you're not familiar with asphalt, it's easy to think that pavement preservation tools are one size fits all. All you've got to do is put some stuff on the pavement that makes it black for a while, then you're good, right? Wrong. St. George understands that different roads in different conditions require precisely targeted interventions to cost-effectively extend pavement life. They employ a robust pavement preservation toolbox, with each treatment strategically matched to pavement condition and traffic demands. If you're new to pavement preservation, it's important to understand one concept before we dive into St. George's preservation toolbox. The earlier you apply a pavement preservation treatment, the cheaper it is. The longer you wait and the more the asphalt deteriorates, the more expensive it is to maintain or repair. Most estimates say that for every $1 spent on preservation, you save $6 to $14 in costs later on in the pavement life. With that in mind, here's a breakdown of St. George's preservation toolbox. For roads still in good condition, they apply HA5 high-density mineral bond, a preventative treatment that seals the surface and extends pavement life before deterioration accelerates, reducing the total life cycle cost by up to 83% compared to a do-nothing approach. High-density mineral bonds can be applied to a brand new road or to older roads. The important thing is the condition. If the road is still in good condition with a PCI of 75 or higher, high-density mineral bonds are likely the most effective treatment option. For roads just beginning to show surface cracking, St. George applies crack seal, a preventative treatment that stops water infiltration before it can damage the pavement structure further. For roads in moderate condition showing surface wear but still structurally sound, they use slurry seals, which is a mixture of asphalt emulsion, aggregate, and water that adds additional life to road surfaces that are in the 60 to 75 PCI range. Microsurfacing takes this concept further, using polymer-modified emulsions for higher traffic roads that need enhanced durability. Roads in poor to moderate condition that need an additional wearing course get chip seal treatments. But St. George doesn't stop there. They regularly conduct pilot programs to test emerging treatment technologies, ensuring they're always getting maximum value from their preservation investment. It's a systematic approach to match the right treatment to the right road at the right time that makes their program so effective. Let's take a look at how this works in practice. In 2017, St. George paved this section of road covering about 84,000 square feet, roughly 2 acres of asphalt. Under the traditional repave and wait approach, this road would sit untouched until it deteriorated enough to require complete removal and replacement of the pavement, probably around 2037. But St. George took a different approach. In 2022, when the road was still in good condition, they applied a preventative treatment, HA5 high-density mineral bond. Here's what the numbers reveal. Over a 30-year life cycle, the traditional approach would have required 2 major paving projects, the initial pavement and a complete reconstruction around year 20. Instead, St. George took the preservation approach, applying periodic treatments to extend the life of the street, reducing the total life cycle cost by roughly 40%. And that number could increase depending on a variety of factors. Think about what this means financially. Instead of facing 2 massive budget hits decades apart, St. George spread the cost out over a longer period of time, reducing the yearly cost of asphalt ownership and avoiding what engineers call budget shocks. Those years when infrastructure bills suddenly consume huge portions of the city budget. The annual cost becomes much more predictable and manageable. Now scale that up. St. George maintains over 83 million square feet of asphalt. If they can achieve similar savings across their entire network through strategic preservation, they're not just maintaining roads more efficiently, they're fundamentally changing how the city can allocate taxpayer dollars. That is the definition of being a good steward of taxpayer money. Of course, it's not always that simple. St. George has to coordinate preservation work within Utah's extreme seasonal weather windows. They must navigate around peak tourist seasons when road closures would cripple the local economy, coordinate with utility projects that could undo recent work, and manage public perception when residents question why the city is fixing roads that look fine. Then there's the political challenge. City budgets operate on annual cycles, but pavement preservation requires long-term strategic planning. A road treated today might not need attention again for 8 to 10 years, making it difficult to determine immediate results to taxpayers who expect visible improvements for their taxpayer dollars. There's also public perception. Here's one of the biggest misconceptions that St. George and every city faces: that asphalt needs no maintenance until it visibly deteriorates. This isn't just wrong, it's the most expensive approach possible. Waiting to touch pavement assets until they start showing signs of visible wear, like cracking, is actually the most costly approach. Many residents, unfortunately, don't understand this concept, at least not at first. One of the most common questions that residents have is why the city is maintaining their good roads instead of fixing roads that are in poor condition. In fact, St. George spends money taking care of roads across its network in all conditions, which is a much more cost-effective approach than repaving alone. Helping St. George residents understand how this approach allows the city to spend their tax dollars more effectively is a constant part of St. George's street maintenance team's responsibilities. And that leads us to how St. George decides which roads get what treatment and when. Every treatment is measured, monitored, and analyzed. They can demonstrate exactly how much money preservation saves compared to reconstruction, creating a compelling business case that transcends political cycles and builds long-term support for proactive maintenance strategies. And the results speak for themselves. While managing explosive population growth and heavy tourism traffic, St. George has done a pretty good job maintaining their road network cost-effectively through strategic preservation, achieving significant life cycle cost savings compared to similar, rapidly growing cities using reactive maintenance, where road conditions deteriorate faster than budgets can address them. But the real innovation isn't just technical, it's also philosophical. St. George treats pavement preservation not as routine maintenance, but as a strategic infrastructure investment. They've proven that the most cost-effective engineering solutions are often the least visible ones, and that preventing problems is always cheaper than solving them after they occur. Which raises an important question. If this approach is so effective, why aren't more cities using it? The good news is that many are, but this approach reveals something fundamental about how individual cities approach infrastructure management and the difference between reactive thinking and strategic planning. Many American cities still operate under post-World War II infrastructure assumptions. Build it new, use it until it breaks, and then replace it. This approach worked when cities were smaller, traffic loads were lighter and federal funding was abundant. But cities like St. George represent a more modern model, strategic asset management that treats roads like investments to be protected, not commodities to be consumed and discarded. St. George's story isn't really about pavement preservation. It's about handling more with less. St. George's growth is only expected to speed up in coming years, and the likelihood that the city's budget will grow at the same rate as the population is slim to none. In reality, St. George faces two options: ignoring proactive maintenance and eventually falling behind, or investing in robust, proactive maintenance strategies to set the city up for years of success. Which would you choose?